Inner child work. Does anyone really know what that is? I've heard this term over and over and over in the past several years, and I thought I had been doing my inner child work, but I really didn't have a resource to actually do the inner child work, but now I do. And this is hardcore, and I'm going to talk a little bit about it today. So if you are interested in finding out a little bit more about the hardcore work of inner child wounding healing, then please do stay tuned. Hi, my name is Michelle Fondin. This is the Michelle Fondin Author Vlog, episode number 28. I am the author of 12 published books, including my latest book, The 8 Limbs of Yoga for Modern Times, a practical guide to the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. You can find all of my published books on Amazon and 10 on Ingram Spark. If you're new to this channel, welcome. Please do subscribe below, click on the bell, scroll up to all for all notifications, and thank you for giving the video a thumbs up. I am here with my pals, Grogu and Gudetama, two different types of Gudetama. They keep me lighthearted and feeling a little more light and airy on these really heavy topics. I'm here with my writer's mug with, well, it's actually a tumbler, right? Not a mug, with the Ticino Dandelion Caramel Nut Tea that is so good. And there is a reason why I'm not using my Grogu tumbler, and I might mention it in a video in a few weeks. I'm not quite ready to yet. It has something to do with this inner child healing that I've been doing, but I may mention it in my upcoming book. So let's talk a little bit about what has been happening in my life these past several weeks. It has been rough, I tell you, probably more difficult than any internal work I have ever done up until this point. And I'm not ready to talk about it completely, but I'm going to give you guys highlights as to what has been going on. Now, I have been writing my upcoming book called Love Me Unconditionally, a spiritual guide to self-love. I also have a companion workbook that will be released at the same time as the main book. The point and purpose to Love Me Unconditionally is to go through the work and the exercises to find your 100% self-love, unconditional self-love, from start to finish. And one of those things is exploring your inner child wounding. As I mentioned in the opening, I really thought I had worked through my inner child wounding. I had been in therapy early in life, and I had been in therapy through my 20s, some parts of my 30s, and I really thought I had done the inner wound healing. And in fact, I hadn't at all addressed the inner child wounds. And while I was going through my self-love journey, my self-healing journey through my twin flame journey since 2018, I did touch a little bit on inner child healing. And I do write about it in The Empowered Divine Feminine, Becoming an Unstoppable Woman in the 21st Century and Beyond. And I even give an exercise that you can do to help heal your inner child. But I'd like to give you an analogy here before we even dive into this topic, because it is so deep. It affects so many people. I believe that most people, not all, you might have had the perfect childhood, but if you're watching this video, it's likely you didn't have the perfect childhood. I believe that most people have at least some inner child wounding healing to be done. And since there is no given template, I did find a book from the father who really implemented this program. He's dead now, and he did this core work in the 1980s and 90s, maybe 1970s. I'm not really sure, but it is hardcore. And I found it because I found myself blocked at the chapter on inner child wounds. And so I decided to find the person who did a large program on this and read his book, which I am moving through his book. I didn't only read it, but I'm moving through it as if I were in one of his seminars. And this is not by happenstance. So let me give you an analogy, then I'll tell you what the link is. So imagine you are cleaning your house for a great big party you're having. So you are meticulously cleaning every single room, throwing away things, putting away clutter, putting things in their proper place, vacuuming, mopping, dusting, shining. You're getting your house so ready for this great big party. And it looks fabulous, except for this one room. There's this one room. It could be a closet. It could be a bedroom. It could be a back room, an office somewhere. But there's this one room, and I know you know what room I am talking about. There's one room, or maybe even a corner of a room, that you do not want anyone to see. You don't even want to look at it yourself. It has clutter. It has piles of things. It has unopened mail. It has junk. It's not even a junk drawer. It's a junk room or a junk corner of your room, and you just do not want your company to see it. And in fact, on normal days, as you walk by this room, you kind of rush past it and you turn your head so you don't even have to look that way, because you're just like, oh, I'll get to that later. I'll get to that next week. I'll find a weekend day and I will get to that. I will get to that when I retire. I'll get to that when I move. You know what I'm talking about. For me, that room, that corner, that messy, messy corner was my childhood. I talk about it quite a bit in my videos and my published books. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up to this analogy is because most people can understand that, right? Nobody is perfect. Everyone has that room or that corner of the room or that closet or that part of their garage that they really don't want anyone to see, and they don't even want to look at it themselves, because it's like it keeps piling up and you're like, I'll get to that later. I'll get to that another day. There will be a day, but I will definitely get to it. And when someone doesn't know where to put something, you're like, put it in that room, right? So for me, that room was my childhood, or is my childhood. And I've talked about it. I've written about it. I've addressed it, but I really hadn't moved through the emotional journey of that room. And I didn't know how, to be honest. But when I was writing, and I still am writing, my book, Love Me Unconditionally, some of the stories that came through in the book, now I don't know if I'll keep them there. I don't know if I'll delete them. Some of those stories that came through in the book as I am writing it, to me, felt like a cry for help. And it felt like I kept writing about my mother over and over in various examples. And I thought, this seems like something I need to take a look at. Now, let me backtrack a little bit. A few weeks ago, right before Christmas, I posted a vlog. I posted a vlog saying why I almost canceled Christmas. Last year, not in 2025, but in 2024, I'm just going to tell you this in like one sentence. In 2024, Christmas week, some things happened that awakened me to the fact that I really couldn't share space with my mother. I had been thinking about this for a long time. It had been taking step by step by step for the past year before that, but I hadn't really taken some grandiose steps. So I knew that Christmas 2025 was going to be challenging for me. And I didn't know how to handle it because my discovery of Christmas in 2024, the feelings I was having inside, I just didn't know how to do anything with them. I wasn't sure how to manage them. I wasn't sure what action steps to take. I didn't know what steps forward I could make to make things better. And so when Christmas of 2025 took place, I had more of an opening and then a solution to what to do about it. What I like to say is that spiritual growth is like trying to fix a wall. And in order to fix the wall, you might have to knock down the whole thing, but you don't necessarily start by knocking down the whole thing. You might start by chipping away at a specific part of the wall that may be damaged. There might be a crack. You're not really sure. Do we really have to rip this whole thing down and start from scratch and build it back up? But you start chipping away to maybe look at the studs, look at the integrity of the wall to see if it's really repairable. And so there's just these little chips that you chip away at. And I look at a spiritual awakening growth period that is like that. You know that there's cracks. Maybe there's a crack in the foundation, but you're not really sure how deep it goes. Like maybe you have termites in the wall. Maybe that's why the wall needs to be fixed completely. But until you chip away at it and you crack it open a little bit more, you're not really going to know what's savable and what's not. And so as you begin to chip away at that crack and try to find out really what's underneath it, I look at that as what is happening to you as you grow spiritually. So you will chip away at that piece of the wall to try to see what there is without knocking down the entire wall. And I believe the last 5.5 years to 6 years for me on my self-love journey, that is what was happening with my inner child wounds. That I had kept it locked away like that room that nobody wants to see my entire life, all of my life, that when the crack started to get bigger, I had to chip away at the areas around the crack to see what was actually there. And what I saw was nothing good. Let's put it that way. What I saw was nothing good. And it can be quite overwhelming, especially for a person who is a teacher, especially for a person who has written so many books on spiritual growth and mind, body, spirit health. It can be almost embarrassing because you think like, I'm teaching this stuff. I should know this stuff. This should be something that I have a handle on. How did I not see this? A few weeks before that video, I posted a video on spiritual bypassing because I had indeed started to read John Welwood's book about spiritual bypassing. It's a term I heard about 1.5 to 2 years ago. I didn't really know, again, what to do with it. But I began reading his book, again, in preparation for the book that I'm writing. So I was reading his book on spiritual bypassing, and the inner child work plus spiritual bypassing are extremely linked together. John Welwood, who coined the term spiritual bypassing, and if you haven't yet viewed those videos, I'm going to post the links up here for both of the videos, the vlog, and also the signs of spiritual bypassing, because I think this is essential if you are doing any spiritual work. It is essential if you are doing any inner child work. Spiritual bypassing is a coping mechanism. It is a protection mechanism for those of us who arrive spiritually awakened, for those of us who arrive as sensitive souls, for those of us who arrive as empaths. Spiritual bypassing is a protection mechanism. It is a coping mechanism. And the body mind is so incredibly intelligent that it would rather see you spiritually bypass to function normally and to become a helper, a spiritual guide, a spiritual teacher, a leader, to help other people rather than see you crumble, because that's really the only other option, right? The only other option is to crumble under the weight, the pressure of a very, very, very dysfunctional childhood. So for me, spiritual bypassing was very easy, and I adopted it at a very early age, from what I am gathering, probably before I could even talk. I started adopting this sense of spiritual bypassing, which of course it is a subconscious thing. I didn't know I was doing it. It was before I could even talk. But there were signs, there are things that were said in my family that indicated to me that that is what was going on. So I had been keeping my inner child wounds under lock and key since I was an infant. And when you keep something under lock and key and you don't know really that it's there in your adult conscious mind, you might have certain signs that it might be there, but you're not certain that it is there. It can be really difficult to, again, hit a hammer to that wall and crack it open just to see if you can save the wall, right? Because who in their right mind would do that? You see a little crack in the wall, it's like, all right, we'll get to that later. It's probably fine. We could put some spackling and paint over it. But then you see the crack getting bigger. And so then you really have to create a hole in the wall to see, like, are there termites? Are they eating the wall? Are they eating the pillars inside the wall? Is that what is going on here? So for me, Christmas of 2024 was really the beginning of this, was the beginning of my inner child wounding, that the crack in that wall got so huge that I couldn't possibly ignore it. But between December of 2024, and I'd say probably the fall of 2025, because I had started reading John Welwood's book on spiritual bypassing, for all those 8 months, I really didn't know what to do with it. It was like, I know it's here. I know it exists. I know this is a problem. I'm not sure where to go with this. I don't think it's any coincidence whatsoever that I felt compelled to write this book, Love Me Unconditionally. This had been a book project that had been on the table for about 1.5 to 2 years. And I know this because I had submitted it to publishers. So it had been a book project that I had written out in great detail. So the book project was there. It hadn't come into full fruition. Then going through what I did in 2024 at Christmas time, and then exploring most of 2025 to try to figure out what was really happening and how to handle it, leading up to Christmas week of 2025, where it kind of exploded from the inside out, if that makes sense. It exploded from the outside in, but from the inside out as well. And that's when I said, holy moly, there's a lot here. There's a lot here in this room that felt yucky and awful and dirty and messy and filled with clutter that I never knew what to do with. But now I have some tools to know what to do with it. And I'll tell you right now, for someone who has her life all together, for someone who is educated, who continues to educate herself, who has great self-discipline, who finds her way through difficult times and challenging times, it is very disorienting to all of a sudden discover that you've been carrying around this burden for the past 50 some odd years. It is like disorienting. That's all I can say. It's disorienting and it's a little disturbing, to be frank. And it's really hard to take a look at the mess. And it's like opening that door of the forbidden room in your house because people have been piling junk in there for several years. And then opening it up and going, how do I even tackle this? How in the world do I tackle this? What do I do? Do I call Goodwill? Do I call a cleaner in? What do I do? How do I manage this? Luckily, I have the guidance of my angels and guides, and with the help of many, many synchronicities, including finding John Welwood's book, including finding the father of inner wound healing, inner child wound healing. His name is John Bradshaw. All these Johns, such a popular name way back when in the 20th century, and moving through both books simultaneously, really, because they're so interrelated. There's so much crossover. Being able to have those resources to move through and to actively work through, and to experience it firsthand, real time, is a blessing, but it's also really hard. It's very, very, very difficult to move through. And I'm doing it. I'm doing the work. I am moving through it. It is not easy. I think a godsend for me was that I had 3 boxes in my garage. I still have 1 box to go through that I had from my parents' home, either my father or my mother's home. I'm not really sure. That had a lot of my childhood things. So letters, notes that you used to pass around in class, letters from old boyfriends, letters from my dad, birthday cards, all of that. And I was able to like go through, and diaries too. I was able to go through and relive some of that stuff because it's really important. It's not to re-traumatize yourself. And that's something I'd like to emphasize. This is not to re-traumatize yourself. It's to reparent yourself. As the adult self that you are, to reparent yourself at every stage throughout your entire childhood. But it was helpful for me because I have a memory of what happened in my extremely dysfunctional childhood. But having the proof to read back was extremely helpful. I even found one piece of evidence that I will not talk about here, or maybe not even in a book, we shall see. But I even found a piece of evidence that actually outlined exactly what went on. And this was not even coming from me. It was coming from somebody else in my life at the time. And I was like, oh my gosh, my memory was spot on. Like there are no faulty memories here, even as a child. It was exactly what was happening throughout my childhood. And so that was very validating to me. And it was very validating to find that because among all those things that I had, there must have been hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of letters and cards and certificates and things. So like everything you've ever accumulated from your childhood. And to find that specific letter outlining exactly what had been happening, I was like, what? That is crazy that I would stumble upon that. But I feel like that is the help of my angelic team, my spirit team, to help me move forward in this inner child healing work. So all that to say, you will find out the program because I will integrate the program into those 2 books, Love Me Unconditionally, A Spiritual Guide to Self-Love, and the companion workbook. I'm not going to take the program verbatim, of course, from John Bradshaw's book, but I will condense it in a way that I worked through it so that you too are able to work through it. And I will also be putting it in my course program, which will be, I'm not going to make it a long course. If somebody wants a longer course, I think I'm going to be doing in-person courses for that, like in-person events for that. But it will be a shorter course online that you can start working through these concepts of self-love to integrate them into yourself. Because there's nothing more important than that you love yourself 100% unconditionally. And as long as, this is what I'm learning, as long as there is that room, that clutter room that you keep under lock and key and that you don't even look at as you walk by it, as long as it's there, accumulating dirt and accumulating mold and accumulating dust. As long as you keep it there, there's no way you could love yourself 100% unconditionally. It just won't happen. It can't happen, as I have learned. And most of us, again, who are sensitive souls, who are spiritually awakened very early in life, who have come here to be light workers and guiding others in the light, the more we're that from an early age, the more likely we have glossed over our inner child wounds and we've put them under lock and key, and that we've spiritually bypassed to be able to cope in this world. And we've spiritually bypassed to be able to protect ourselves and to be of service to others and the world. So those who are leaders, healers, helpers, writers, those who are speakers, maybe leaders in the religious movement of any religion, right? And hopefully you're doing this without spiritual ego, which I do also talk about in the book. But those of us who have taken on a role to guide others with sincerity have often locked away their own inner child wounds and spiritually bypassed to be able to survive. So I am here to give you permission to open that room, to unlock the key. And if it is something that you absolutely positively cannot do alone, please, by all means, hire a therapist, right? Engage with a therapist, a counselor, someone who can help you move through that. Now, of course, through my years of therapy, I have some tools, right? I mentioned I have been through Al-Anon and the 12 steps, doing the 12-step work. I've been through therapy many times under many different iterations. So marriage counseling, relationship counseling, counseling with one of my children, my own counseling. I've been there. So I do have tools that I can use as I'm moving through this process. I meditate every day. That's another thing. So it's not that I am at a loss myself for the tools to be able to move forward with this inner child healing as I am doing it. And I'm also checking in with my angelic team. So I have a lot around me that can support me on this journey. But if you feel that there's so much under lock and key from your dysfunctional childhood that might be very challenging for you, or you have mental health issues, that's one thing that John Bradshaw, who is a psychotherapist, that's one thing that John Bradshaw talks about as well, is if you have an undiagnosed mental illness or a diagnosed mental disease that you are under the guidance of a psychiatrist, psychologist, you're taking medications for, or you are in a 12-step program or not in a 12-step program when you probably need to be in a 12-step program, then it's best not to do this inner child healing alone. It's just best to have a licensed therapist to help you through it. I will tell you firsthand, and I am strong. I have been hardwired to be strong. I have been hardwired to be a survivor. That is how my nervous system hardwired itself since I was an infant. So I will tell you, even though I have the tools, even though I am strong, it is extremely harrowing. It's extremely difficult. It's extremely disorienting, and the most difficult work I have ever done in my life. And I'm not even all the way through it. I'll tell you that right now. I'm not even halfway through it yet. But even those first couple of stages in my childhood development, a lot was revealed. A lot was revealed. So reparenting those first two stages has been something that I'm working on. So I just thought I'd share that with you because my videos may be more sparse in the coming weeks. I am simultaneously healing and writing these books, and also moving through periods of pause where I need to integrate these lessons learned. But I am grateful for this journey. I'm grateful for finally cleaning out that last room, that last clutter room under lock and key. I'm glad that I cracked open the wall too, because that was something that I hesitated in doing, right? And most of us who spiritually bypass, we really hesitate in taking a hammer to the wall to really see what's inside the wall when there's a crack. We hesitate because we're like, why would I break everything down when it seems to be moving along just fine, right? It seems to be moving along just fine. Yes, there's a crack, but things seem to be moving forward. Nothing real is happening here. Everybody's living, everybody's healthy, everybody's surviving. We all got food to eat. We're getting some sleep. We're doing our work. Why mess this wall up, right? Why take a hammer to it? But I'm really glad that I did. I'm really, really glad that I did. And it wasn't easy for someone that has kept things together for 55 years. It's not easy to take a hammer to that cracked wall and to really look to see what's inside. And I'm still moving through it, and I will have good days and bad days, and that is okay. That's what I'm realizing, is that it's okay. It's okay to have good days and bad days. For me, my commitment was never to have a bad day. That has always been my commitment since I became an adult, awakened person. I would say since I went through my experience with thyroid cancer, right? And I went through all of that healing and a lot of mental healing, a lot of spiritual healing. And I made the decision around that time between ages 29 and 32. I said, I will never have a bad day, meaning I will always look for the bright side, which is a great thing to do, right? That is a wonderful thing to do. You always have to look for the silver lining, how you can turn it around and make things better for you. It's not by focusing on the negative that things are going to get better, but you need to look sometimes at the negative. You got to look at the crack in the wall. So I'm giving myself permission, however, during this inner child healing, it's okay if I have bad days. Like, it is okay. I am moving through some stuff that was deeply buried, deep buried. And as I uncover it, as I dig it up, and as I give each stage of my person a chance to heal, and a chance to have a voice, and a chance to have complaints about what happened, a chance to be seen, there are going to be some bad days. And I'm not going to film on a bad day. That's just not going to happen. So the videos for the rest of January may be sparse, maybe they'll be fine. But I thought I'd just warn you there. I want to thank you so much for joining me here on this channel. We will certainly have more conversations on inner child wounds for certain, and especially once the book is published. I want to thank you so much for all of your support here. Whether you purchase one of my 12 published books, you can pledge your support on Patreon as general support. You can join a course. I have a meditation course, I have twin flame boot camps, I have my Read Tarot Like a Pro course, and you can just give the video a thumbs up and put a comment in the comment section below. Thanks so much for being here and being on this real, authentic journey to self-actualization and self-realization. And I will see you in the next video.